Hello everyone, welcome to this third video of the series on Google Sheets. So here we'll continue our learnings and we'll look at some very useful formulas in this particular video. But before jumping to those formulas, I'll just start with some basics of referencing cells in a formula. So here if you see this example, if we have quantity 125, price 12, and if you want to find the amount in this cell, what we can do is we can simply pick up the quantity which is 125 and multiply it by the price which is 12 to get the amount 1500. So that is fine. But tomorrow if something changes here, this cell will not update because we are not referring to that particular cell while writing the formula. It's just 125 into 12. We are not referring to those cells. So the better way to write this would be referring to this cells. So rather than doing 125 into 12, we can write B7 multiplied by C7. So whatever value is present in B7, whatever value is present in C7, our amount is the product of these two. Okay, so if tomorrow the price changes to 10, then this D7, there is no change here because it's kind of static formula. But here, because it's dynamic and referring to those cells, it automatically changes to 1250. Again, if it changes to say 8, it will change to some other value. So here it is 1000. Okay. Now let's move to see how and why we should fix columns while writing a formula. So again, this is an example where for different days, these different product types are sold. So we have, so on 1st January 2022, product A, 18 units of product A, 10 units of product B, 67 units of product C, 96 units of product D, and 19 units of product E are sold. Now, if you want to know the total quantity, so total products which were sold on that particular day, then what we will do? We will write sum. So again, this is some formula where if we are referring to this range of values, or we can simply some individual values as well. Because they are continuous values, we can use it like B3 to F3. So this seems okay. So it's sum B3 to F3. But what will happen if you drag this formula here? Now it's, so you move the formula one cell on the right, then all the references changes from B3 to C3 in the earlier, B3 to F3 in the earlier formula to C3 to G3 in this new formula. You don't want to do that because your total sum is from B to F only. You, you want to get the total quantity from B to F. So what is the solution here? So if we write this formula like this, so here we are writing again, it's quite similar to sum B3 to F3. It's same as B4 to F4 because it is in the next row. But here we are fixing the columns. So when you apply a dollar sign before B, it means that the column B is fixed. So it will always refer to column B and row 4. So row 4 is not fixed, but yeah, it will always refer to column B in this sum function to column F, because again there is a dollar sign applied before F4 as well. So it means that these two columns, so this width is fixed from column B to column F only. we are summing the values in that particular row. So if the formula is just upgraded from B3 to F3 to $B4 to F4 in the next row, here if we drag, the value remains the same. So here you can see that it changes, but it remains the same here. So normally when you are applying formulas like this, and you don't want to accidentally change the value when you are dragging a cell on the right, when you are dragging a cell on the right, okay, when you are moving to next column and you don't want to change the formula accidentally, then you have to fix the column. So here, where are we dragging? We are dragging on this side to another column, and we don't want to change the formula, so we will have to fix the column here. So this formula again I'll update it to, so dollar can be added, so it's there on your keyboard. You can use shift and then you can press the 4 button to add the dollar, or there is another way, just by pressing F4 you can apply dollar sign, but by just by pressing F4 it will add dollar to the row as well as column both. But if you keep pressing F4 it changes. So here you can see it comes to that particular format which we want. So it's dollar $B3 to dollar F3. Okay, now if I drag this formula here, it remains 210. And so if out of this total quantity that we are getting, for example, say 80% of all those products are shipped on day one only, and we want to know how much quantity is shipped. So what we will do, we will multiply this number by this cell. So here we are doing the same. We are just taking the sum of these values present in column B to column F in that particular row and multiplying it by this cell, which is B1. So because we we want to keep that cell constant, so it's a fixed number and it should be applied to each of these rows, and we don't want it to change. So here it's a particular cell and we don't want to change its position while dragging the formula on the right or on the down. We will completely fix this particular cell. So you can see that in this formula, the dollar sign is applied to the first part, which is the column B, and the second part, which is the first row. So we'll get like this. And then we can drag this formula from the top to bottom. Okay. So what if we don't do that? So for example, if you don't do that, so here this total sum, if I multiply it by this percentage like this without fixing that cell, and if we drag the formula, it automatically drags. But if we drag the formula, these would be incorrect numbers, because here it is referring to G3 into B1, here it will refer to G4 into B2, and there is no numeric value in B2, so it's multiplying with something which is a character, it's giving a value error. But later on, because there are some values, so many a times you'll get some numbers, but they are incorrect. Be careful of these things and apply this cell referencing properly. So, in which conditions do we fix rows? So, let's see an example here. We have the product in the first row, price in the second row, quantity in the third row, and then we want to know the total amount. So, here we'll simply multiply these two cells, product price and quantity for a particular product, and then we'll drag this formula to the right. What if we drag it down? Because we are dragging it down and we have not fixed anything, When we are moving one step down, the formula refers from B2 into B3 to B3 into B4. So it's multiplying these two cells. And we don't want it to happen. We want to write the formula in a way so that even if you drag down, there's no change in the formula or the value. So for that, we'll just fix the rows here. So as you can see in this particular cell B9, the rows are fixed. We are referring to the same column B, but we'll stick with row 2 and 3 only in this formula. So here it is dragged to the right, and if you drag it down again, the value remain the same. So quickly you can just keep it remember that if the cells that you are referencing, they are in a row and you are writing a formula, in most of the cases you will have to fix the rows. Okay, and if cells you are referencing in your formula and they are in columns and you are writing a formula, then you'll have to fix the columns. And if the cells you are referencing to is in a cell and you are writing a formula using that, then you'll have to fix both the row and the column. So with this trick, you'll write these formulas by referencing the cells or the range in a proper way. Now, before jumping to the different versions of count and some functions, we'll quickly look at the difference between count and quant unique. So here we have some products which are sold on a particular day. So two A products, one B, three C's, two D and one E. These are items are sold on a particular day. So if the question is how many items are sold, we can simply do count A. So here count A means, so count is a function which is used for text columns while count is used for numeric columns. So here we're just counting the uh, number of values present in this range and we get the result 9. But if you want to know the unique values present in this range, we'll have to use function formula which is count unique. So again we are using count unique referring to the same set of range and we get the value 5. So because different unique type of products that have been sold on that particular day is 5 only. Now, I'll just go back to the COVID data that we have. And so here you can see we have country, daily new cases, cumulative total cases, and date fields here. So let's understand what is the difference between different versions of count formula and some formula using example from this data set. So first of all, let's see how we can get unique values from a particular column in a data set. So here, if you want to know what are the unique countries we have, in the cell I15 I'm writing unique and I'll just refer to this column in this formula. Okay. And then close the bracket and enter. So I can see that yeah, there are 5 countries: Brazil, India, Mexico, UK, USA here in this data set. So using the same formula, I've just pulled the unique values from this column B here. Now the first formula that we'll see is count A. So count A we have seen earlier as well, but let's see. So what count A does, it just counts the number of values present in a particular column. You can use it for rows as well, but yeah, it's we generally use it like this. So here we are just counting the number of values present in column B, and the value here we are getting is 4101. And I'll just drag this formula below. And here you see that we have not fixed this B because it's referred to the whole column. So even if you drag one below it will not change anything. But yeah, you can still fix the column reference, that's for sure. What if we want to apply a condition and we want to know how many rows are there in the data set for Brazil? So for that, because we want to apply one condition, we will use COUNTIF function. So when you are using COUNTIF, the syntax is like that: a particular column and a condition on that column. So here, if you see the formula, the particular column is B, and the condition is that the values in that column is same as A6. Okay, so it means that we want to count the number of rows where the value in that particular row is Brazil. So when this formula is applied, we get the value 820. And if we drag it down, we see that all these values are 820 only. It's because we have same number of rows for each of these countries. Now, what if you want to apply multiple conditions? To apply multiple conditions, we'll use a different version of the formula, that is COUNTIFs. And here we'll apply the conditions, multiple conditions, one after the another. So the first condition here is that the value in column B should be equal to which is present here in A6. And the second condition is that the value in column D should be greater than 1000. So you see how it is written here, greater than 1000. It is in inverted commas and we have written greater than 1000 here. So you see the column D is daily new cases. So the formula here is just give me the count of rows for Brazil where daily new cases are greater than 1000. So if you drag this formula here, we can get that number. So here we can see that out of 820 rows, on 773 cases, the daily new cases are greater than 1000. So similarly, we can apply different version of this formula. Now, this is great using these functions countifs, but I generally prefer a different version of this function by using filter on the data set. So if you look at this formula, here it is doing the same. It is counting the rows of column B where B is equal to A6 and the values in column D is greater than 1000. But the formula is written in a different way. So we are applying filters on the data set and then we are counting the rows. So what if I just ask this to you in general, that give me the number of rows for Brazil where daily new cases are greater than 1000, and how do you do that in the data set? So if you go back to data set, to do that, we'll apply a filter here in the data set, and we'll first select the country Brazil, and then we will select daily new cases greater than 1000. So we'll do it by filter by condition, and we'll do greater than, I'll write the value 1000. So here we can see that there are 773 rows. And the same has been done here by applying the formula. So how did we do it here? We applied filters and then we can just count the rows. So same thing is done here. So first filters are applied on the data set. So everything is under the filter function. Then we are counting the number of rows. And we are using count A because we are counting column B, which is a text field. So this is the way I preferably write formulas in Google Sheet. So first filter the data set based on the condition you want to filter, and then you can apply count or sum on top of that. Okay. Now what if you have to write the same formula and you want to refer to a particular sale. So here you can see. Then what if you want to know number of rows where the daily new cases were greater than 100K? Okay, so here this value is entered in a particular cell. It's in a cell. So in this formula, when we are referring to this particular cell, we'll fix it. We'll fix the cell itself. It's not in a column, it's not in a row, it's in a cell. So we'll fix the cell. So again, it's filter column B based on condition where column B is equal to A6, based on condition where column D is greater than the value present in cell E1. So here you can see that for Brazil, the number of rows where daily new cases are greater than 30, greater than 100K is 31. And we can easily cross check from the data here. If we just change this value here from 1000 to 100,000, see 31 rows. This is how we can formulate it easily here. Now let's see if you want to know the sum of total daily cases, and here we will be using sum and different versions of some formula for different countries. So again, similar to Counte here, the first formula which I have applied here is just the sum over the column D. So it's just sum of all the values present in column D irrespective of any country. So it's all the same. And what if we want to know the sum of these values for a particular country? Can we do it using sum function? No, we can't. For a particular country, we can't because we are summing the values present in column D, so we can apply a condition on column D only. What we can do is we can find the sum of values present in column D where the values are greater than 100K. Okay, so that is equal to 91550569. We can quickly check that. So if you go back to the COVID data again and remove filters from here, so maybe you'll just remove the filter from here, and here it's already applied 100K. And if we check the sum of these values here, you can see it's 91550569, and it is the same value which is present here. In the next version of the formula where we want to apply the condition on the country, we can do it using SUMIF function, because in SUMIF we can apply conditions on other columns as well. So we want to sum column D and we want to apply this condition on column B, and we want it to be equal to Brazil in this formula. So it's like sum of all the values present in column D where column B is equal to Brazil. So if we do that using SUMIF formula, we get this value. Again, we can quickly check that from the data. So I'll just remove the filter from here by selecting none, and I'll apply a filter on Brazil. And if I look at the sum of column D, it's 30682,093. Okay. Now again, for sum function as well, I preferably use, I do sum after applying all the filters that you want to apply using the filter function. So I'm getting the same result, but I'm using a filter function here, and my filter function says that I want to sum column values present in column D, where column B is equal to A15, that is Brazil. So you can see the syntax difference here. In filter, you can directly write equal to this, greater than this, less than this, like that. But when you are using sum ifs, count ifs, you'll have to put those conditions differently. If it is just equal to, you will put it like this. If it is something different, greater than this or less than this, then you'll have to use inverted commas and you put the condition along with the values there. So it's a bit complicated. So again, now we want to again get the count of values present in column D where the values in D are greater than E1 or 100K. So here the second condition is again applied within the filter function where D is greater than E1. And then the value here for Brazil is 5123627 and we are dragging the formula. But there is a issue here. We are getting NA for Mexico. It means that there is no case in Mexico where the daily new case is no row in Mexico where daily new cases is greater than 100K. But we are getting a row here and NA here. So there is some issue with this formula, and which we can see by looking at the values NA value present here. So these are cases where there are errors. So the syntax become, so before after applying the filter function and before applying any function like sum or count, you should apply if error. So when I do that and change this formula, and if I drag it below, it changes to 0. So it means because there are no such rows present in the data set, sum of all values is 0 here. And if I make the same change here, in this formula, if I drag it down, I'm getting a 0 here. It means there is not even a one row in the data set where for Mexico where the daily new cases is greater than 100K. So you can understand the usefulness of if error function. And what was happening before was that the output of the filter function was an error, and before applying if error, the count a function was actually counting that, and that is why it was giving a value 1. So I hope you found it useful and you understood the different version of count and some functions, and also how we can use or how we can get similar results using filter. And I'll again mention that I preferably use filter, and because the syntax is simpler, it is the best way to write formulas in Google Sheet. So that's all in this video. And if you like the video, do subscribe the channel and share it with your friends. We'll continue from here in the next video. Thank you.